order. We'll continue with the budget.
Okay. We are. I guess the first thing let me ask is, are there any other questions or comments on human services before we move on? Okay. The next division is the government resources. Government. Family and here. No, I don't think I did.
We didn't finish that.
I don't think I did. Thank you. Let's go back to human services. Mr. Martin pointed out to me that I didn't finish with human services before the conversation took us to lunch. On page 162 of your book. Family and elderly assistance is budgeting a $1.5 million decrease compared to this year's budget. This year's budget does not have the heating stoves initiative repeated in it for $500,000. Also, I believe the light heat budget only has partial year funding, and its remaining fiscal year 07 available funds will be brought forward, I guess, upon the grant award.
No, actually.
I'm sorry. Will you come to the mic, please?
Usually our lighting budget is around $600,000 or a little over. And this year, between the leveraging and additional funds we got over $1 million, slightly. And so we don't know if that funding is going to hold. So, like we're estimating, we're going back down to the $600,000 until we find out if we get that.
So this is actually
Because every year
a 50% reduction of program funding.
Right. Well, so far, we're just estimating.
Okay, I made the assumption this was a half-year grant award. Okay.
Okay, so it's not a
a half-year grant award. It is a full year.
And it's our estimate of what will be funded. We'll hear something right after the 1st of October, and it may be, as high as 7, 8, 9 or more, 100,000. But it has been like 625 or so. And then this last year, it really increased. So we don't.
Bill John has a question.
Yeah, in that heating stove allocation, how much did you spend?
$440,000.
Do you have any stockpile for next winter?
Yes. Stoves we do.
Stoves and pellets.
How many? Stockpile.
I'll have to pull that out. I don't have a count right off the top of my head, but I should find out for you.
Because I bet you bought them a lot cheaper this summer than you could have possibly bought them last winter.
The pellets for the stoves.
Got both?
Well, I know Jerry's going to be looking at purchasing some more pellets because we just finished storage.
Okay.
I can shed some light on that.
Yeah, I bet you can.
I think it's about 44 stoves, and it's 2 semi-truckloads. It's like 44 tons.
Right.
Pellets that are coming in. 2 semi-tractor trailers. So they told us that they were going to store.
A ton will get you through the winter. You might need to order more.
Yeah. Well, I may be wrong about the tonnage, but they said they have, right now they have 2 semi-tractor trailers coming in.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. The Child Development Program is budgeting $1.7 million more than in the current year budget, or 15%. That increase is on the child care, the Public Law 102-477 funding source. It's $5.5 million increase, or 72% increase, over the 05 actuals. That's a significant increase over '05 on that funding source under the Child Development Program. And when the increase, I would have to go back and run the '05 budget to compare to the '05 actuals. There's consistently significant underspending on this program, but I'm not really sure what's driving a $12.8 million I guess contract award or compact compared to $7.5 million that was actually expended in '05. Protocol 102.477. When did that really get ramped up for the first time?
But it really doesn't have anything to change the funding level.
Well, that's why I'm curious as to why we have a $12 million budget, which is pretty close to $11.25 million in '06, but in '05 the spending was only 7.5. I mean, like $5 million less.
You know, they have 2 years to spend that.
Are we?
And it's good for this year, but I don't know. We don't have budgeted.
Do we budget 2 years worth in an annual appropriation?
No, I can't say for sure. I think she budgets what she estimates carry over and what she is, thinks the next year's budget reserve.
Okay. Then it would be feasible to think that we may have more than a 12-month allocation in the budget.
Right. That's the truth.
Okay.
I think it was his long as 5.
Yeah.
5 is 5.
That's what stuck out in my mind was the fact that here 2 years in a row now we've had over $11 million budget in the child care program, but considerably less was spent in '05. But what I'm hearing, the funding hasn't significantly increased since '05. The way we're budgeting a multi-year funding award may be what's driving these variances more than anything.
So you're thinking maybe that they should reduce that down to what they expect to spend?
Well,
If I might address that just from a theoretical budgeting. Traditionally on the compacts, we have budgeted the current year award plus whatever carryover we anticipate being available from the prior year. And when you have sort of a new funding source like 102.477, which was ramping up in '03, you may have a 3 or 4 year time period where you're slowly increasing, and the reason the programs do this is so that as they go through the year, they know that they've got that on the table and they're authorized to spend that so they can go forward with their plan. It has been a traditional budgeting method. Not saying we couldn't improve it, but it's not inconsistent with how we generally deal with these types of compacts. To basically put all the money on the table and then try to implement the plan so that we get to the point where we're ramped up, where we're within 12 months worth of funding. But there may be there may be special projects included. So.
are there any stipulations to that compact that would preclude us from ever receiving any carryover?
Not that I'm aware of.
No,
To the forward funding?
it's part of the child care block grant,
Okay.
and they have to go back.
Is this forward funding?
It is forward funded, just like our
I don't have any concern over the forward funding program on the carryover, as long as we get our money up front. Okay. Food distribution is relatively flat, $200,000 increase, which is only a 3%. No change to their staffing package, slight 6% increase over 2005. Okay.
Does Barrel Systems come under your similar
Yes. It'd be under family and elderly assistance.
Oh, okay.
That program, I know we discussed that yesterday in a 2006 appropriation in that page 4. Burial assistance expended $26,800 in '05, and they had the same $77,000 budget this current year. They're requesting the same level for next year.
Norma, we were out of burial funds for a while. What was the deal?
That was last fiscal year that we ran out, and this fiscal year, a lot of monies were not buried in many people. So, the funds that you all provided us is for 2 things. One is special circumstances. We can only use our federal burial dollars in certain ways, but sometimes we have to have an oversized casket that costs more. So we'll go into the funds that you all have given us. Other things are sometimes a body will be found that is in such a state that it has to have special burial arrangements that cost more. So we go into that money, first of all, for those special circumstances. And then secondly, if we run out of our federal funds, we go to that one. That's what happened last year, is we had more burials than we could cover. But this year it looks like we're probably going to be okay. We'll probably come out about this year.
Just have a question, it's just out of curiosity, but do we have many families that ask for cremation?
Don't move ahead.
And just, I was going to say, just wondering.
For clarification,
Curious.
when you said that all the money was expended last year, are you referring to '05?
So is it not allowed?
The federal funding.
Federal funding. And I think we didn't,
No.
but we did use hot situation on it.
Okay.
Yeah, we could, things can change real quick, we never know what it's going to be.
So are we saying that program is about 77?
The tribal funding is $77,000. The other is a part of the, is it general assistance self-governing budget? How much of that is for burial assistance? That's mine, 80/20.
We just right around $500,000 is future insurance.
And for burial assistance? Okay. So, to put it in perspective, I guess about 20% of the total burial program is tribal funding. On your self-governing, how much is that?
Taylor? Hey.
So you want to be a star.
We know you want to see Linda, but
Now what?
got a microphone in there. Oh, really?
I didn't do that.
Okay. A little technical difficulty there.
Now where are we at?
Okay. Any other questions on human services? Okay, we'll move on to government resources. Relatively flat budget compared to the 06. $600,000 increase over the 05 actual level for government resources. $225,000 of that increase is on the HUD funding, $80,000 on IHS, and about $160,000 in the IDC pool as compared to 05. The salaries, slight increase over the 06 budget, considerable increase over the 05 actuals. The staffing levels, relatively flat, up and down over the course of the budget years. And again, those are budgeted numbers in the comprehensive budgets. The Government Resource Department is requesting a 10% decrease or $99,000 decrease in the budget. It's on the IDC funded grant administration budget. They're requesting a transfer of one employee equivalent into the evaluation and compliance department. They're requesting a 24% increase or $179,000 increase over the 05 actual spending level, largely in contract services of $39,000, as well as a $59,000 increase in salary costs over the 05 actuals. The Evaluation and Compliance Department is requesting an increase of $282,000 or 84%, and it's requesting an increase in staffing for 07. And that's where all the increase in this group is as far as full-time equivalents is in the Evaluation and Compliance Department. $379,000 increase over 05 actuals for the Evaluation and Compliance, or 159%. Again, it's due to the increase in staffing requested for next year. That increase on Evaluation and Compliance is in the indirect cost pool, as well as the 2006 IHP funding. So this is an operational increase in the department's capacity using indirect cost in the IHP funds, both of which provide for compliance efforts. The Real Estate Services Department is requesting a $150,000 decrease in its budget compared to the current year budget. The 2006 budget, this current one, had a new initiative called Strategic Solutions Cherokee Lands of $125,000. This budget's been removed from the 07, as well as the $25,000 reduction in the discretionary fund. That's not right. The $25,000 reduction in the budget. Let me check something out. Part of my notes are incorrect. Is the tribal trust land lease initiative. That was new in the current year budget of $150,000. It's been reduced to $125,000. And again, the Strategic Solutions Cherokee land budget is not being requested to be recurring in 07. And that's all the departments of government resources. Any questions on that group? Okay. The next group is the Housing Authority IHP funding. See that the 05 actuals for Housing Authority was $34 million, and that consisted of multiple year IHP funds. The 2006 budget, current year budget, went down to $20.8 million, a reduction of $13 million, and then the 07 budget is requesting $12.9. By funding source, you can see that a significant portion of the 05 actuals that's driving that $14 million reduction is the obvious omission of the Title VI funds in 06 and 07. A reduction from the 06 budget to next year's proposal, as you can see, is largely coming in the form of the 04 funding availability, which is being reduced by a little over $6 million. And 05 is also being reduced by over $6 million for a total of 12. However, the 06 IHP funds are going up by $7 million. So as you can see here, we've got movements of annual block grant or Indian Housing Plan funding from year to year that's coming into each appropriation cycle. And let's see. Here you can see how the Indian housing plans are sorted by group, whether it be Housing Authority or the Cherokee Nation. And there's an obvious shift of funding over to the nation. This next slide is a summary of those 05 actuals, what IHP plan year they're coming out of. The 06 budget is the center portion. You can see there were 4 very active Indian housing plans in the 06 budget. The 07 budget is partially 05 and the vast majority is 06. Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
That's the build. Isn't it called a building package? The build package is good. Yeah, that's the panel. That's the panel construction. It's for the insulated panel.
I believe that's community services initiative.
Is that discretionary funding?
No, I believe it's IHP funding. Well, I mean, it's NAHAD. I'm not saying NAHAD is not discretionary, since y'all approved the Indian housing plan. It's not called SIP though, is it? Anymore.
I think self-help.
Bill package? Someone? Okay. It's on page 134, Dave. Under HUD funding. Right about in the middle of the page.
Home ownership. The home ownership bill package is the SIP. Is that correct? Where's the SIP budget? What's it called? Okay. Is there a budget in here for the insulated panel?
Under research.
Building. Page 133. Under the budget called research and development. No, I'm talking about SIF, the question is that. Okay, there's a $250,000 budget called research and development on page 133.
Is it 96? Which 96?
250,000.
476.
696, yes. Yeah, there's 200,000 above that as well. That was 496 accounting unit that was going that's in this budget as well. So I guess they're both providing the same.
The original SIP budget was, the plant was built back in 2005. So we built the plant, so now that's built, so now it's being, paying the employee salaries, private service. So we don't build the plant.
We set aside some funding to buy 3 pieces of equipment for that, everybody.
There was when they gave it to 20,000, they bought a used plant, or boom truck.
Did everybody do the backhoes?
That was like 2 backhoes and bulldozers, that was the first authorization of the,
It was purchased for that program.
no. The boom truck crane was for this house again.
You're in there. Go.
Did you understand what he said? Am I the only? Could you clarify? Did you say they bought it, they
If you
didn't
could come up to the
buy
mic,
it, or they
please.
bought something else?
I think the budget was for 100,000 for a crane, and they bought a used boom truck for $22,000. I think that's when you looked at yesterday.
And then you said the dozers,
The hundred,
the dozers, the back, or the dozer and the backhoes was for another program?
that was, I think, water and sanitation.
But it didn't come out of the 100.
No, that's different. Budget.
Any other questions or comments? Thanks, sir.
Okay.
I included in your book on page 176 a breakout of the Indian housing plan and the utilization of those block grants. You can see that this is a one-page synopsis of the nation's departments that are using those Indian housing plans funding. Next division is career services. Budgeting a reduction of $3.3 million compared to 06 budget, but almost exactly consistent with the 05 spending. That budget is showing the removal of the reduction in the employment and training department. Employment and training was utilizing Public Law 102-477 funding and is decreasing by $2.5 million. The removal of the Ross grant is also contributing to the decrease by another $375,000. The Boys and Girls Club and the Community Investment Project budgets are not included in the proposal submitted. By funding source, you can see the DOI 102 chart, the $2.5 million reduction there. Salaries relatively flat, actually going down just a little bit. Again, there's the funding reduction. Staffing levels down 1 full-time equivalent. I just mentioned the employment and training, what's driving that department's $3.3 million reduction. The Talking League Job Corps is budgeting a 4% increase, or $275,000, 2 additional positions. It's a nominal increase, and they've requested their additional funding to go to the outreach department at the Job Corps. Basically, no change in budget level for 07 and compared to the 05 actuals. The Adult Education Department is budgeting a reduction of 26%, or $357,000. On the vocational rehab carryover, where that decrease is, as well as a $200,000 decrease on the motor fuel tax funded vocational education scholarship. It's a $49,000 increase over 05, or 5%. That's the last slide that I have. There's one other tab in your book, which is just simply the new division breakout in the Lawson system for the Housing Authority of the Delaware Tribe, which shows, as you turn back through there, you'll see the 3 programs, the operating subsidy to the Delaware Tribe for $345,000. These are all out of the 06 Indian Housing Plan. $17,000 for housing management and $32,500 for administration. These are all reflected as pass-through budgets. Madam Chair, that concludes my review. I hope this provided valuable information to the body.
Thank you for all your hard work.
No. Yeah. Doug, the Boys and Girls Club and Community Day Project are not included in this. Are they reflected anywhere else in the?
I think the Boys and Girls Club is not in here anywhere for 07, but it was one of those items that the chief sent over a letter wanting it to be considered at $100,000 instead of the current level in this year of $80,000.
Council, have any other questions?
On the Ross program, or the Ross grant, will that affect any positions, or is it going to affect services? Diana, does the removal of the Ross grant help contribute to the decrease?
Well, we had a Ross grant that ended, and then we've got another one that came in behind it. And we've applied for another one so that we keep that pipeline going. The other one is over, and the other one just, I think we started it probably in March.
They're going to need to submit a budget. There's no Ross grant budget in also.
There is not.
We're going to need to consider that in your adjustments.
But we will carry on.
Yes.
Another Melanie, on the 11K, contract support, has that money been received? Is it in here?
It should be in the record today.
That's an
Yes.
estimate. It's estimated in there. It's really close to what we got.
In the revenue estimate, I think we have it at 2.3 million, and it came in at 2.2 something, so it's real close.
It is.
And it is in there.
Thank you.
Ross.
Yes, I have another question. Ms. Kelly, on the adult education, there's a decrease in Department of Ed funded vocational rehab carryover. Do we not have that?
I don't know what you're looking at. I don't have anything in front of me, so I don't know what you're asking me.
Doug can probably help too. On that adult education section,
Yeah.
is this saying that we don't have this $200,000 now for these voc-ed scholarships? Is that what
The
that's
adult
saying?
education is the GD, it's not voc-ed.
Okay.
It's BIA, it's self-government.
Okay.
Adult ed. GD program. And it's combined with the literacy over housing, so those are combined.
She's referring to for 10249.
Okay, vocational ed scholarships.
We went from 225 down to 25. They reduced 200,000.
Okay.
What happened there, what?
Well, there wasn't monies appropriated. You all appropriated it for higher ed, and we got it through pass-through through higher ed this year. There was nothing earmarked specifically for it like there was the year before. You all appropriated for higher ed that you put in for it to be pass-through, and it was pass-through for higher ed. And Juanita got a supplement from them, and that's what that is.
So do we need to make then money available directly to that program for scholarships?
We don't care how we get it. I mean, it doesn't matter to us if it's passed through, we still get it. However you all want to do it, doesn't matter to us. One year you all had it in our budget when you all did the higher ed stuff, and it was earmarked for vocational, but this last time it went through higher ed, and then Dusty and I got together and it went through as a pass through.
Okay. What would you suggest,
Well, the higher education has resubmitted requests for funding at the same level as I think there may have just been, we need to make sure that the downline knows that, in this year you guys appropriated an extra $1 million or something to try to take care of that list of unaccepted applicants. And a portion of that got divvied up between graduates, undergrads, and vocation. It's in the budget again for higher education scholarships to be funded at $2.5 million, which is the same level as what we ended up with this year. Okay, you start at 1.7. They put 700 more in undergrad. But you appropriated $1 million. Some of that went to vocation. They have put their repeat in. Vocation has not. So I guess this is another where we need to address the recurring nature of that $1 million funding that was done.
So how much did you go and give?
Had a $225,000 budget in 06, and it has a $25,000 budget right now in 07 as well.
So how much did you spend?
Yeah, on that. Over 50%, it's not on that page 3. I don't have a report of that right now. Jack. I can't answer that question. How much?
That would be a good answer. Good question.
I have no idea.
You just got the cap on it.
I only put those that were less than 50% extended on that report, but I've got all the ones. Not the motor fuel tax fund of the county either. It wasn't on the report because it wasn't gen funds. $225,000 budget, 4,000 is extended. Out of 9.5.
How much?
4,000.
Is that right? Diane?
I apologize. I don't have anything in front of me, and I don't know.
Well, there's one right here. Okay, what was the question?
Well, we went back and looked up that vote ed scholarship, and we only spent 4,000 in vote ed scholarships to this point this
Yeah,
year.
because right now is when we'll be expending that. It'll probably come in about October, because we'll start paying the books and the tuition for those that are starting right now. And I don't know exactly how much that is.
I don't remember how much was there. I told Melanie I thought it might have been around 60-something thousand. Because it's for the ones that are over the Pell eligible that don't qualify for the program.
Right. Okay.
And I apologize that I don't have that information, but I didn't know that's what y'all were going to ask. Because I asked what specific information you all wanted, and I didn't get anything, so I didn't know what you was going to ask me.
We just need to have it all on top of your
Well, I apologize. Normally that is, it's not today.
It's all there. It's just-
Yeah, yeah.
Did that program change assignment between the time that the budgets were submitted to the council and the financial statement? That's an adult ed assignment, right? It's in the adult ed, but it's not in the adult ed of the financial. Those are awful.
Get this all taken together.
But
Give me a handy bag.
Looks like a paddle to me.
no, that's the 322 funding. There's no 102. Okay. So if you look in here, we're just going to get new bag. 102.49, adult ed started. Go back to our budget.
That's not
It hasn't had any experience.
Get figured out?
Yeah, it's not in there. Even the 25,000 is not in there either. There it is. Okay. Yes, she don't. No, it's in adult ed, and it's in the blue book for $25,000. The funding was $225 in 06. Oh, 4,000.
It would appear that there was additional funds added during the year to this. The original budget for 06 was 25,000. So it must have been a
200.
supplemental, an additional 200 during a mod package probably.
The same mod that took the undergrad up to 2.4. You know, when you threw $1 million at that big denial list.
Bill John has a question.
And you know, folks, when we sit here and we look at these budgets and we look at the needs for people and we find the dollars for these programs, I mean, I think each one of us really believes that it ought to get out and spent and you know, fill some needs and serve some folks. If we need to, I mean, if we gave them $225,000, they spent $4,000, then maybe we need to look at our program a little different. Maybe we need to look at it that what's going to get these folks to go to VOTEC and get a skill that they can make a living on. And if we're going to sit there and have $220,000 go unspent, then maybe we need to do fees, books, tuition, and $1,000 a semester, or some other incentive to, these dollars we identified to do some good for the Cherokee people. And I think everybody agrees that once a fella gets a welding certificate or a backhoe and dozer certificate or an LPN certificate or these things, that all of a sudden they've got a better living and they're going to be doing better for their families. But to sit here and say, okay, the council gave an extra $200,000, but we're still only going to do we're not going to help them if they get Pell, we're not going to help them if they do this, we're not going to help them if they do that, then maybe we need to broaden it up just a little bit. And we've had successful programs in the past through Diane's group where we actually paid them $5 an hour to go to VOTEC. And I think that was a federal program. Is that correct, Diane?
Correct.
So maybe we need to mirror that when we start putting tribal dollars in to fill some gaps that we think it through a little bit more, or have the department come back and talk to us about it, and they say, hey, this, we're not going to get it out because of this, then we can change the guidelines to where we can help Cherokees make a living. And I think that was everybody's thought at this table when we put that money in there is, we all believe in education. We all believe in people being able to make a living and, given those tools to do it with. We ought to be trying to figure out how we can get them there, not how we can not spend the budget.
Mr. Chairman?
I'm not, but she'll recognize it.
Come forth.
By the time we found out that was in pass-through, we didn't know that you all had put it in pass-through, because I wasn't over here when you all did it. So we found out about it a little bit late, but you gotta remember, a lot of these people don't start school till the fall. And a lot of our monies will sit until the fall, because they don't start in the summer. So those dollars are gonna get expended here in the next month or two, because we're gonna be paying those schools for all those people that are coming through that we've got applications on. It's the same thing with higher ed. They sit for a long period of time, and then all of a sudden that budget is out of there. So it's the same way with vocation. It hits the fall, then we also have some that hit in January.
And it was a little different because when we were in the budget process, they already had us a list of how many students were not going to be funded, and so we did put it in a hurry so that they could replace those denial letters with approval letters. And so I'm sure higher ed did a much better job because they had the denial list to work from. And I understand that now. And
We just figured we weren't going to get any, and when we found out that it was passed through and the dust got with us on it, well then it was after that January cycle had already passed. The timing's a big factor.
Diane, are you saying that if you had the budget, and again, you don't really care how you get the dollars, you just have dollars, but let's just say that you got the budget to the past. Could you fund and could you send Cherokee students to school of vocational education and use the $245,000?
I'm assuming from what the staff were saying, because we had a staff meeting this morning, that there's people that have been coming in that didn't qualify for various reasons. And we could go back and pull up those applications, and we could probably fund some people that we couldn't fund with the other dollars.
Well, and I agree with Bill and what he's saying. I really want us to take a look at those rejections and why they were rejected and try to get them in instead of not try to allow them in. And I'd be willing to bet there's not one person sitting at this table that would not invest in Cherokee people's education. We have consistently done that throughout the entire time that I've been on the council. And so, I have no problems with putting the money directly into your budget, so you'll know up front, what you've got to deal with. You don't have to wait on pass-through and that type of thing. Is it going to be there? Is it not? If we can address the needs of those folks out there, we know not everyone wants to or needs to go to college. But we also know there's some great paying jobs out there. We hire folks all the time for those great paying jobs, and we want to address that. We're not just a higher education, college education committee. We're a Cherokee education committee all across the board. So if it would make it easier and translate into helping our people quicker, faster, and more of them, then, let's put the budget in your field so you can use it knowing up front, because it's not going to hurt higher education. If higher education has needs that need to be met, we'll vote on those too. But as of this particular pot of money, if you feel like there's the need, and I know, we can't hold you told us you was going to spend it all. We're not saying that at all. But if you know that there's a group out there that has needs that we might be able to fill back in, plus advertise against some other folks, we want you to have the budget. Or at least when I say we, I'm talking about me. I want you to have the budget.
Well, I can tell you one reason why I was late getting over here. There's 3 people that called in, and they were asking about their books and tuition being paid for, because they were getting their $75. They want to know if we were running out of money for that. And I'm having to sit down with Juanita because we're getting all them costs because all this isn't started.
But this is a proposed budget, and this is one of the areas that I would like to look at when we get through it, not individually, but when we get through it. And I think it's very important to have this.
How, it doesn't matter to me how we get it, whatever works best for everybody.
It makes it simpler if the funds go to the group that it's intended for. It sounds like in this situation, there was some confusion between, it's budgeted here, but some of it was supposed to go here, so we need to clarify that. And I can work with Diane to get that corrected.
Okay.
Diane, do we still, we don't still exclude cosmetology, do we?
No.
Okay. I know we use this, but we don't.
No, we don't.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Karen?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to clarify, the thing what I heard was, it doesn't matter with the accounting stuff, like where the money is not designated, that's, I think we've got you guys, government accounting things to do. What I'm hearing is that really, that doesn't really matter, it's just the logistics of administering the program regardless, where there's not the money expended maybe. It's not that there's been a hold up on the money available.
I think what you all did is you all upped the money for higher ed, I don't know exactly when, and somebody brought up the vocational piece of it, and maybe it was Dusty at the time. Anyway, he said he would get with us. Juanita said she got a call from Dusty. He needed to know how much we needed to get us through. She said she gave him a figure. We went back and looked at it, and we said, well, we could use this, and that's how it came down. And we were probably remiss in not doing a budget for this cycle because I figured that's the way you all wanted it done, so I just left it that way. So it doesn't matter as long as we get the resources there. I have not done a chart to see whether or not the money is going to be enough to get us through. What we're doing is we're trying to spread it out as far as we can. We may be cutting down on supported services or something. I don't know. I have to go back and look at it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think the funding was available when the $1 million appropriation occurred. So the question is, why was the funding not expended? If there's a hindrance in the funding or the way that funding occurred, I would sure be interested in how that occurred and resolving that problem. Because $1 million was earmarked by the Higher Education Division to go into 3 different buckets: undergrad, graduate, vocational, 3 different amounts. There may have been a communication issue as far as how much additional funding was sent to vocational education scholarships, and that may explain why. But the matter of fact is that there has been $4,000 expended this year, and I believe that appropriation happened in the winter, right after the term, when they were trying to fund the spring semester, and they had the denials in December. But if we do have a accounting issue, then we need to figure out what is that. I don't see an accounting issue here. I see it. The funding was there. Was it communicated to the program to administer or not? Which I can't answer that. But I do not believe there was I'm not sure what pass-through means. I mean, there's a hard budget on this accounting unit for $225,000 for this year that was put back in at $25,000. So I think it may be more of a communication problem than anything.
I agree. I think it was a communication problem. We're dealing with two different groups, education, career services. We just need to be clear when we set these budgets up and make sure that the people who are expected to administer it knows what's there. And I think we're all on the same page now.
I would ask that this be considered when you're making changes to the proposal, that this too, especially based on what Ms. Kelly just said about a lot of these funds will be expended in the next 30, 60 days, and we obviously need to get that budget in there by 10/1 if they're being obligated. Thank you.
Any other questions? Open this up for discussion or comments or motions?
Madam Chairman,
Yes,
if you're ready for some motions, I can start.
that'd be fine.
First motion would be to fund the Boys and Girls Club. This is coming from the chief's recommendation. Okay. Last year we gave $80,000 to the Boys and Girls Clubs, and it was divided out amongst the ones in the 14 counties. The chief has said this amount will fund direct support for Boys and Girls Clubs throughout the Cherokee Nation. Such clubs will be requested to incorporate Cherokee-specific programs into their curriculum whenever feasible. I'd move that we put the $100,000 into the budget for the Boys and Girls Club.
Second. Have a motion, have a second. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Same sign? Yes.
Madam Chairman, I've got number 2 is merit pay increases, $2,100,000. This would, let's see, says here that the nation's staff is deserving, and this increase due to their performance, and the nation's business entities have performed exceptionally well, provided the funds to make such an increase possible in 07. I would move that we put $2.1 million into the budget for cost of living to be equally divided by all employees.
Have a motion, have a second. Any discussion? Karen?
Madam Chair, thank you. That's not what the chief's recommendation was after looking at the memo and having a discussion with them and an analysis of the trend in salaries. A cost of living increase would be a permanent increase.
No, this is one time. This is one time.
The way the merit pool, this would be the largest merit pool we've ever provided, and it would allow those that are performing to get up to, I think, 7%. If it was left as a merit pool and not as an automatic cost of living, then we're not sending the right message to those who have not performed as employees. I just would be concerned because it indicates if you label it as cost of living, it indicates a different kind of direction on somebody's salary and those things. If it's a cost of living and it's automatic rather than a merit pool. And I just can't agree with that.
Yeah, Madam Chairman. And there is still going to be, there's already a merit pool in this budget that the people that have performed the best or perceived to perform the best, there is a 3%. There's a $2.1 million merit pool in place in this budget. But we have performed so well in our enterprises and stuff that there's an extra 2.1 million available this year. So I'm not proposing that this is this year, next year, and all times in the future. What I'm proposing is that we take these additional funds this year because we've got the money available and divide it among all employees. The biggest complaint that I've got the last 2 or 3 years is some of the lowest paid employees get nothing, and the higher paid employees get 6, 7, 10%. And I'm just telling you that I believe the employees from the bottom to the top of this nation are deserving of an increase and a little help. And so the motion is that we take the 2.1 and divide it across the board among the employees.
Karen,
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think that, the chief took time to write this out and present and ask us to consider this. And if I was a supervisor or manager, this kind of motion undermines my authority to properly administer the salaries to my employees. So I was hoping maybe if administration wanted to respond.
Kelly. I understand that it's kind of a dilemma. And when you first put in place a merit system, you have misunderstanding on the part of some employees. Speaking just for my group in financial resources, this was implemented for the first time, I believe it was October of '04, that year's increases. I got so many comments, it's about time. I sit here and I work during the audit. I put in extra hours, and my coworker leaves at 5 o'clock, and we've been getting the same pay. I got nothing but positive feedback from my employees. And even though the merit pool policy says that you can give 0 to 7%, most groups outside of maybe health group are so small you can't give any more than 4 to 5%. In financial resources, I don't have this year's numbers, but the first year there was only a couple that got less than the 3%. And I think most of the groups have seen a real increase in performance because people feel like finally they're being rewarded for better performance. It's not, if I show up to work, I'm just entitled to an increase merely for showing up for work. And I'm not a human resources expert, but study after study after study tells you that pay for performance works better than across the board increases. And that's why this was proposed as an addition to the merit pool to be able to further reward the employees, and it would be administered the same way the current merit plan is administered.
Council have any other questions?
I mean, that's fine and good, people that want to get some kind of reward, but there's people that work, especially down the Bull Hall, there's old men that work there and been there for years. They haven't got anything. I mean, they come to work at 8 and go home at 5, and I mean, they're faithful, but still, they're probably working $5 or something an hour. I mean, that's all they get. And they go and say, one of them that passed away, and even a cost of living raise. I mean,
because of the recent discussion on the the minimum wage increase, I can tell you right now our lowest paid employee is around $6.50. I don't have the statistics, but I would imagine we could go to Human Resources and run some reports and, find out how many employees really didn't get a raise. I don't have that number, but I would guess that it would be a small percentage, because we do have good employees for the most part. I know in my group, like I said, there were only 2 or 3 that got smaller than quote-unquote normal raises. But I keep hearing this, these people didn't get a raise, didn't get a raise, didn't get a raise. I know I personally would like to know the statistics on that. You know, are there hundreds of them? I don't know. But we could certainly run some reports and find
Bill
out.
John?
Yeah, and Kelly, I would think that if anybody would have those statistics and numbers and know, it would be you.
Now, because that's human resources, and I don't keep track of each individual pay raise, but I can certainly get them.
But I know that in the roads department that to do it, they were only able to give it to one of the project managers, and they gave it to the one that had the most projects on the line that year. But we're losing employees because the way that we're doing it, and you've got the merit pool. So if every citizen of the nation, if every employee gets $1,000 roughly, by dividing 2.1 million by the 2,100 employees, and you do your merit on top of it, then I'm sure that the ones that work the hardest will get the lion's share again this year, as they did last year, in your merit pool. And so they'll not only get the 1,000, but they'll get the merit pool that you've given to them, and they'll still come out smelling like a rose. Folks, we give peanuts and little blankets for Christmas. We have given a ham before, and these are our citizens, these are our people, and I don't know about you, but they do a bang-up job over there. And I'm telling you that if we could give them $1,000 bonus, whatever you want to call it, this year, plus whatever merit pay that they've earned, that we will have done a good job here today.
Bill and Phyllis?
Just go through the analysis, Kelly, and I'm not sure if you heard it. I'm not finding anywhere in all of these Cherokee Nation employees where they don't make $5 an hour.
No. 624 is the least.
I know it was mentioned that Kenwood people were making $5 an hour. Nowhere.
The job description's on there.
We had people on the Fort Caboose that was recently making $5 an hour. I don't know if that's been jumped up. We had several of them because we had meetings with them. Their salary was supposed to have been put back to the original higher end at $6.37 an hour.
I'm only talking about Cherokee Nation government.
Right, well, I understand that there are.
That's kind of what I thought they were talking about Cherokee Nation. I didn't know they were talking about.
Well, just the populace, we do still have some of those folks out there. But even though it doesn't pertain to this. Phyllis?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know what the solution is, but, when I go and put gas in my car, when I used to work here, it cost me a tank of gas a week. And in my particular car that I drive, when gas was $3 a gallon, $52 to fill up my tank. And if I come to work for 52 weeks, that's $2,100 that goes just to gas. So I think that's worth looking at, I think. I'm all for merit pay, performance, I know. But when people don't make enough money to get to work, how can they perform? And, if I'm worried about how I'm going to feed my family, or if I'm even going to get home to feed my family that day because I don't have gas in my car, then I'm not going to be performing a good job. I'm going to be worried about providing for my family. And, I think that it's kind of sad that we say we want our people to be self-sufficient and be self-supportive, but we don't want to give them the money to do that. We give them maybe just enough money that they don't qualify for assistance programs, they don't qualify for donated foods, they don't qualify for live heat, and they don't qualify for some of the services that we provide, but we want them to be self-sufficient. My son, and I don't he probably wouldn't appreciate me telling this, but he makes $10 an hour, and he has a family of 4. You know, that's reality. He can't work for the 5, and so, you know, he has to pay rent, utilities, buy food for his family, and that's just not very much to support the family nowadays.
Now, Bonnie, you were next. Did you have a comment?
No, I'm on call,
Okay.
because I don't see that job description on here, what those people
Okay.
do out there.
Further discussion? Yes, madam.
John, do we have anything in for public, not public transportation, but transportation for employees? Is this some kind of plan? What did I
Keep the roads
The only thing that I know of is Catoosa was planning on taking some running a route down to Locust Grove and some stuff like that. But as far as in town, we have a CATS bus that, but trying to get it timed with getting to work on time and everything, it's inadequate.
Yes.
Meredith, we did discuss that, I think, in our last resources meeting, in the roads department, that area. They were looking at some kind of grant for a transit system, trying to get something along those lines to bus people to work from to Stillwell, Day, different areas. So that's something that may be in the works.
Yes.
Would you consider amending the motion to include, to say 50% cost of living and 50% merit?
That's what it is already. I mean, there's 3% in there for cost of living.
I'm aware.
Already in the budget. And then we could make a meaningful $1,000 per employee if we pass this 2.1 across the board. And, you know, do I think the doctor making $200,000 is going to mean much to them? Probably not. But I think the people at the bottom of the scale, it's going to mean a lot to. And I think it's going to mean a lot to the people in the middle. And so, you know, I think 50-50 is a good thing. I think 3% that's in the budget for the merit, and the other half in across the board. And I think it's a good plan. And so, no, I don't think I would accept an amendment to it, to the motion.
Further discussion? Yes, David.
I too would like to find out just how many people out there are receiving a larger merit increase and how many are receiving a smaller one. Because the ones that I know of have received the smaller ones. I know one person that did more job orders in many years and the whole crew that was in his unit. And he receives the less. And he received the less because he speaks his mind. And he's just not very popular. But he works hard.
I can ask for some reports.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I just wanted to mention the council had asked us for last year's merit and who received what and how many of each percent there were out there. And I was just talking to Doug, and I think you all have that here. In addition, I think we have it, at least what we generated, so we can try to get that for you.
On the last year.
Right, on the
Last
last
year.
cycle.
This year is still in process. No.
Are you gonna hand that out, or how did you prefer to do that?
Were you asking for this year's merit increases or last year's?
Last year or before last.
Yeah, they,
Report anything.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, that was about a year
we've
ago.
merit
I'm
increase
sure I got
every
it.
year since I've been here, 7 years.
okay.
There's never been across the board, I can remember.
thinking of doing a print report on Okay. Does it look familiar? Can you see it?
That help?
Yes.
Is that the report? Didn't refresh myself there. Okay. Status just tells you whether they're on contract or not. Hourly wage, before, after, whether it was taken in a lump sum, the merit percent, total increase, and what group they fall in. 10% and above means they received a 10% increase or lump sum. Old salary, new salary. For instance, this particular position elected to receive their increase in a lump sum. Therefore, if they do, their base doesn't increase. Okay, those were those part columns out to the right. I think the data will come into play as those employees receive, as you get into those groups of employees that receive a 3 or a 2 or a 1. It's sorted from the largest percentage increase or at the top of the report.
Doug, could you possibly sort on who received 0 or how many employees received 0?
It'll be at the bottom of the report.
Yeah. That was one question.
All of these is exactly
How far up is it?
Still going. Still going. Oh, there we got 1%.
And those are all employment contracts? Is that the reason they're not included on the merit?
No, there's accurate.
Some of them are.
I can try to detach here and go over it. That's part of all.
Because this isn't the report that we sent you.
No, that does not include this.
And
that's the summary.
And when you're talking about an employee that's making $8 an hour, getting a 5% increase, it's nothing compared to somebody making $50 an hour and getting a 5% increase.
I think that's a summary table that shows you the count of employees that are in each group and whether they're on contract or regular. And then of those, for instance, if you look in the 21 employed, their contract employees that are in the 10% and above, those 21 average down below is $50,535. That was their average salary of those 21 employees. Okay. You want to see that, okay? We'll make it larger.
Yeah, thank you. Let's see.
telling us is this is counting, the top box is counting the employees that are in each group. And the group, I've separated them by what percentage increase did they receive. And like down to group D is a 3 to a 3.99. That group here, there's 3 employees on employment contracts and 408 regular full-time employees that received a raise between 3 and 3.9, or merit increase between 3 and 3.99. Of those, for instance, 408, you can go down below if you want to know now what type of average pay did those 408 people, their average pay is 32,448, or was it a year ago? Okay. I think this sheet, I think, is going to be much more meaningful than all that detail. And if there's any group you want to explode out, I can simply, for instance, if you want to say, okay, there's 27 employees, right here, that got between 1 and 1.99. Okay? There's average is 74. And the average is 32 on the regular full-time. And you say, okay, well, what are those positions? Those are those positions. If you ever want to, in other words, I can drill down with this and tell you, and you can go from here to the details by just double clicking on this.
Yes, there.
Ms. Robinson, Terry, I understand where you're coming from, and I understand why you're doing it. I've been in the business for all my life. Merit always meant more to me than cost of living, and money. And I'm one of the Phillips Petroleum Company, they cut out all cost of living, as far as I know, they never had any living back. It's all merit. And I don't know if that's what the objective is of the chief or what. I still believe in the merit purpose.
But, and it's not like they're not going to have merit. They have $2.1 million built into this budget to do this. Well, that's still going to put people, 171 employees at nothing, and another 128 at 1 to 1.99, and just because you double the pool doesn't mean these people at the bottom are being rewarded for years of service. And the thing is, you sit there and say that everybody's done away with the cost of living, but they really haven't, and especially not in government. I mean, Social Security gets cost of living, federal government gets cost of living, state employees get cost of living, and we're government, and these folks work hard every day.
So we're just talking about the government, not our entities.
That is absolutely correct. We're talking about our government, and we're talking about these employees that come to work every day, that maybe they're janitor at night and the supervisor doesn't even see them and doesn't know if they're doing a bang-up job or not, and maybe they're full blood and they don't talk much, and they don't, they just don't get out, and so they're not recognized for being the best janitor that we've got, or the best teacher up at the center, or maybe they're one of these teachers that is out at Lost City or someplace that doesn't come in contact with the folks.
Kelly, can you address that one?
Well, I mean, we've got a lot of it could be, or it might be. I don't know if it's the janitors who got a lower increase. I can tell by looking at this chart that you look at how you expect a distribution to work like this. And you really expect a bell curve where you've got a small percentage at the lower end of performance and you've got a small percentage at the high end, and most people are right there in the middle. So without going and looking at each individual employee and finding out what the reason was, and then I'm getting into someone else's managerial responsibility, just looking at it from a statistical standpoint, that is a good distribution and a good implementation on a merit plan.
No, Bonnie, did you have something?
No.
Karen, okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know we're government and we have some different expectations, but I struggle with automatically increasing salaries when we again look at salary trends. So, I mean, I know our business or my husband's business does not do automatic cost of living raises. So, does that insinuate that furniture store does? I mean, do you do that for yourself? You're going to do it for.
As a matter of fact, when gas prices went up, we started buying lunches for everybody, so that they didn't have to drive their car to go eat. And I don't know many employers that do that. And I felt bad about doing the Cherokee Nation $8 an hour, so we went back and raised our gal to $8 an hour. So yeah, I preach and walk the walk, if that's what you're asking.
That's what I'm asking.
Okay.
Well, I think that's beside the point. At this point, we're talking about our entities here at the complex, our people here at the complex that we're trying to get into personal people's business, and it was Taylor and then Melvina.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For me, it's so much of this issue is I try to look at it from the economic perspective. And to me, I grew up, born and raised in Tahlequah and watched the Fairs of Nations for a long time. And we have never seen better economic times in the modern nation than what we're seeing right now. And I know a lot of these folks who work out here, and I know what their wages are compared to other folks. I know what the wages at the nation are compared to some of the business entities. And those at the nation are at a disadvantage. So one of the reasons I supported the minimum wage was the opportunity to raise the real wages of Cherokees. And this does it as well. And, the nation's grown, and on the upper end, we've treated those people in higher positions very well. There's some of those individuals in the room today. We've taken care of them. Now, what have we done on the other end? That's what my question is. On top of it, and I've, administered over merit programs and for-profit companies, and they're always unfair. You look at these trends here, that's not a perfect bell curve. You see a larger number from those people getting 0 to 0.99 than you do the the one above it, and then, the 5 to 9.9%. There's always a bias in merit, and unfortunately, that managerial bias, you can't pick who your boss is. Some of them are conservative, and some of them are liberal with it. There's never a perfect bell curve, and some people just get punished because their boss doesn't believe in. No one ever should get 5%. That's what I hear. So this is an opportunity for us to raise the real wages of Cherokees. That's why I support that. Thank you.
Well, I've worked in all kinds. I've worked in 2 or 3 employee offices and seen different types of raises. But I guess the worst I've seen is county government. You can have somebody come on board to get off their 6-month probationary. They're making the same amount as I have. I've been working there 20 years. And they're making the same amount in 6 months than what I'm making. I mean, you see all of this. And to me, we could sit here all day and discuss this, that, and over here. And I've worked, like I said, in an office where there's only 2 or 3 employees, and I've seen those kind of raises. Some of them did give cost of living raises, but we could sit here and discuss here all day. But main thing is, do we want to do this for our people? Yeah.
I just, quick comment, kind of on what they were saying. We have an opportunity to address those 0 to 99 folks and so on. And the way we've done suggested, it removes any bias or any preference or any whatever, at least with 50% of the money. And if we get 50% of it, fair and equal to all folks, and the other 50 still can be
I don't know what you'd say, Casey, maybe unfairly distributed times or whatever. I think that's better. So I can support it.
Have a call for question? Have a motion, have a second on this.
Linda, would you repeat the motion?
Motion is to take $2.1 million and divide it equally among the employees as I called it a cost of living, but just a one-time supplement to the employees' income.
Everybody clear on that? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign?
Aye.
Yes.
Madam Chairman. The next item is Sequoia High School increases for certified personnel. Before I make a motion on that, if Doug could speak to this. Doug here. Doug, you did some analysis on the Sequoia High School for certified personnel.
Whenever I saw the item on the memo, that I went to the budget to see how much under state pay level, we were at, because that would have funded, I think it said 1/2 of the requirement to get them up to a state pay level.
Yeah.
So I went to the budget to see what was in there in the original proposal. And I didn't do an analysis, so to speak, with a printout or anything. I just reviewed the salary positions that are in there and obtained the salary pay scale. My sister's a public school teacher, and I called her and she gave me the I think it's the school of Coweta. So I'm not real educated in this, but as far as do all schools abide by the same state wage schedule, scale or not? But that was just one school. Okay. But I didn't see any. There was out of 85 positions. There are, I believe, 26 teachers. 1, 2, 3. 28 certified education teachers that are in the budget. And of those 28, there were only a few that fell below that minimum. But again, that's a different school minimum that I believe it started at like 30,000. 32.
Kelly, would you speak to it?
Yeah, well, actually, I have asked Dr. Morton to come over. I don't have the calculations here in front of me, but he's bringing his budget analyst. I remember from our discussions, the request is for all certified personnel, not just teachers, and I believe there's 44 certified personnel, and he can provide details on that.
Madam Chairman, if we could wait for Dr. Morton, let me make another motion. Let's get down to the Cherokee National Treasure Program. They're asking for $45,000, and I put that in the form of a motion.
Second.
Have a motion, have a second. Discussion? You need explanation? We'll go expound on that.
Yes, the Cherokee National, it's part of the chief, what he's asking for. It says the program will fund restructured National Treasure Program to expand the categories of nomination, document recipients on video, audio, photographs, and develop a booklet with biographies, expand recognition activities, and allocate a small amount of funds to purchase artworks from National Treasures for archives and exhibit purposes. The amount will also separately fund the annual reception in honor in honoring of the Cherokee holiday, and pay for services to develop policy, procedures, coordinate, and the program on research Cherokee National Treasures, and prepare and archive documentation. I mean, it's perpetuating and documenting and preserving these folks that are nominated and yeah. And
What was that figure? 45,000.
45,000.
Call for the question.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
The next one is a directed studies program asking for $710,000. The program would provide $650,000 in scholarships for students pursuing specific study areas aimed at strengthening the Cherokee Nation government economy. The scholarship will cover cost of tuition, books, and housing, and utilize the University of Oklahoma as the first partner university. Each student recipient of the scholarship is expected to complete a summer internship in a placement site designated by Cherokee Nation and serve an employment placement for a period of not less than 2 years. I'm going to put it in the form of promotion, knowing that I'll probably get an amendment or two.
A second with an amendment.
Have a second with your amendment.
And the amendment being the competitive university and not designated University of Oklahoma.
Okay.
I'm not earmarking, if we're going to competitively negotiate for funds.
Okay, just a second. When you say it, the competitive, are you saying only OSU?
No, I'm just saying, open it to any university, it is not just automatically designated to a pilot with OU. It's to open it to any university.
Can I hear Callie before I accept that?
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. I did some more visiting with Dr. Morton on this program. The initial proposal, OU was suggested as the pilot program, and that was just because they seem to have the most programs in the area that we need, health, government, etc. I think Dr. Morton would be happy to turn it to let's find the universities that will work the best with us, give us the best rate, give us a cut on tuition. So I think we're open to molding this program however it's going to work best.
And I will accept that amendment.
Because it's not excluding OU, but
Right.
It's not exclusive.
We have one comment too. Chuck and Ravana.
Yes, one of the things, I'm sorry. This was an area that we asked for more information on the other day regarding disciplines that we're talking about, what studies we're talking about, also the question about university. And before we make these motions, well, in order to begin the study, we can make a motion, but we need the information that we've asked for. We're doing them a disservice, not allowing them to give us the information before we start voting on the issue. So having asked those questions and not giving you an opportunity to provide us with the information, I'd like to have the information.
I did distribute a little bit of the information that I had gotten yesterday, and as I mentioned, Dr. Morton's on his way over and can discuss it at more length. But there is a memo that or an email that I distributed that lists some of the disciplines that we're suggesting we would be focusing on. Yes.
We have one that was in.
Yeah.
He's looking at it now. Okay, I did accept the amendment for basically all universities that are willing to compete and do it.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a friendly amendment to raise the amount to $850,000.
And I would accept that.
How much?
$850,000.
Okay, the second agree?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. All right.
And Dr. Morton's here.
Dr. Morton,
Yes.
how are you this afternoon?
Just fine, thank you.
Right.
As soon as I get one paper.
Go ahead, take a moment, sir.
Good afternoon.
What can I do for you?
Okay.
Do you want to recess or?
Dr. Morton?
Yes.
Right now, we have a motion to pass this on the floor. We have raised it to $850, and we have taken off exclusively OU. In other words,
So that it could be
it could be OSU. It could
any
be,
university.
It could be a competing university. And, but we've raised the funding as well. Chuck has questions about what kinds of studies are you looking at, and a little bit more information about how this is going to actually operate.
All right.
Yes.
Let me finish my question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, let him answer my question first. Please.
All right, concerning the areas of study, the areas of study will be determined primarily by assessing the anticipated employee needs of the various departments of the nation over the next 5 to 10 years. In other words, a department may see a critical need in environmental engineering, for instance, because some of our professional areas in the nation, positions may be hard to fill by that time, as well as right now, unless we grow our own, and that would, of course, be for the nation a healthier environment than to import persons. And as far as tenure with the nation, I think that would be increased too by sponsorship. If you'll notice, in that program we have a required summer internship with the nation, and it's based on the IHS model of payback, of coming back to the nation for a minimum of 2 years employment if we have the position open. Gives us 2 years to look at the person, gives us the person 2 years to decide, hey, is this my career or not?
Phyllis and Taylor and Kara. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Morton, I think this is just a fantastic opportunity for us to get a lot of folks back home. And I certainly support Councilor Watts's amendment to expand it to different universities. You know, when I was growing up, old folks always told me that the most important thing to do is get education.
That's right.
And in doing so, do the best that you can in doing that. And when you're done, come home. I just want this to be able to, you know, for Cherokee, whatever field it is, if they want to be the best in business, or they want to be the best in an optometrist, whatever it is, and it fits our needs, that they can go to any school, and then this would get them back. Will this, if we open it up to the competitive, will that allow a young Cherokee citizen to go to school wherever?
Yes, I think that would be an excellent addition to the program. And you know, I really appreciate what you just said, because in too many instances, Cherokee students have had to settle for second best and not really follow the career path that they really want to, you know, because of financial obligations that they have. You know, prior to the general belief, Indians don't go to school free. You know, consider our scholarship program, you know, which is just a small assistance, a little nudge forward. And this would allow the students that really have a desire to work for the nation, have a desire to go after that career that might not be possible for them with their own family's resources. Because we had, what, in Oklahoma, a 14% increase in the cost of higher education for this year over last year, and that's going to continue to spiral.
Thank you, Dr.
So those would be excellent, yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Council, have any other questions?
Dr. Morton, I know there's the legal field that goes out. I know a lot of folks have the opinion there's plenty of lawyers, there's too many. The reality is we have a lot of Indian students who would like to pursue law. And I think we'd be doing a service to ourselves if we can also assess grades in that field. Because there's not a whole lot, as you and I both know, there's not a whole lot of help out there.
No, there is not, and becoming less. The old program through the U.S. Office of Education that supported attorneys 10 years ago is no longer alive. So I think that would be an excellent addition. In fact, I'd like to see it just any professional area. So that would be wonderful.
Yes.
Dr. Morton, and going along the lines that you just stated, rather than chisel in stone a certain amount of disciplines that we're going to address, I prefer that we leave it open and address the needs of the Cherokee people as they come in. You know, business is their expertise, and they want to go, law is theirs, or medicine, or whatever, because as soon as we put something in stone, that these are the ones that's going to be offered, then we're tied to that unless we do something else. And I want to make those fields available to everyone.
I would certainly agree with you, and one of the reasons that those are listed in the fashion they were is I thought I could sell it easier that way. But I would be happy to follow that pattern.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Morton? And I guess this maybe not just specifically to Dr. Morton. Is this this budget, is it inclusive of staff from RN?
In other words, staff from Cherokee Nation?
Yes.
They would be administered through existing higher ed, no additional funds there, except for the $28,000 of coordinator. That probably would be a roving type coordinator. In other words, the first contact person for those students. Because so many times, as all of you know, that initial period in higher education for Cherokee students, whether they be going to a community college or to a major university, that first year is the critical stage, first semester. So we want to monitor the students and have as high a percentage of completion as possible. Because that's the number one problem with our higher education program now, is the lack of completers.
I have one more comment already for you.
It's okay. It's a clarification of my motion anyway, so it's in order. I accepted an $850 amount. Did I accept $850 direct services to replace the $650, or did I accept $850 and then they take administration off of it? In other words, it's a $710 program, $650 to scholarships. Was that the $850 to scholarships plus?
Yes.
Okay, so Doug,
Sure.
You'll have to figure the rate for the total amount of what we're getting ready to pass. It was $750 and actually $650,000 in scholarships. We have amended it to $850 in scholarships plus whatever they need to administer the program. So you'll have to do the math.
What percentage of that then do you want to add to the draft?
Well,
Same trend, though.
whatever trend they had 710 on 650 direct. It was 710 total, and 650 was going direct, so I don't know what percentage that is.
So 90-10 really?
Okay, got it? Okay.
That's
Council clear
that's
on what our
clarification
vote
motion.
is? Have a motion, have a second. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Bill John?
Okay, back to the Sequoia High School certified personnel. It's the last one on these that came from administration. Do you know, Doug is looking hard and heavy. They're asking for $209,000. This is what will fund 1/2 of the cost necessary for Sequoia High School to keep pace with Oklahoma compensation for teachers and other certified personnel. In order to continue to attract and maintain high-quality certified teaching staff that performs above normal levels of performance, we must pay at least fair market value for these services. The funding formula BIA schools does not take into account local market challenges for recruiting teacher staff, and Sequoia High School is not slated to receive any additional federal funding to make these increases possible. However, we're looking at what some of these teachers are making with their years of experience. And I'm not sure that they're not competitive.
I think I can give you some background there. I think it was, in looking back at bill records, I think you approved a 5% above state scale for Sequoia teachers in fiscal 05. So that put them in a competitive nature with the public schools. It didn't put them above the public schools, because most public schools pay above the state scale. Most schools in Cherokee County, in fact, will pay above the state scale. So our 5% above the state scale that was instituted in fiscal 05 at least leveled the playing field some. But now, in the waning days of this legislature, every public school teacher was approved for a $3,000 across-the-board raise. So that would put, for example, let's say Tahlequah Public Schools. That would put the Tahlequah teacher at an automatic $3,000 above what the Sequoia teachers would be drawing. So our proposal is to take 1/2 of the funds to make up the $3,000 difference from Sequoia's carryover funds, if you will, and half the funds from Cherokee Nation budgeted funds. That will put us back exactly where we were before the legislature raised the pay. Now, what you're speaking about is the amount that some of those teachers receive. Jennifer, do you have the state scale? Oh, you have the state scale. Okay. If you'll notice this right here, this is the state scale. And you can match this up against this payroll sheet on a person that's, has 10 years of experience with a bachelor's degree or with a master's degree. The only difference would be the 5%, which you granted no 5.
And where I'm confused is if we gave all 44 teachers the $3,000, that's $132,000.
Okay.
And you're saying half of it is $209,000.
Yeah. Then you have to add in your indirect cost factor.
Okay. So.
And then you have to add in your fringe.
Okay. So 30%.
So no, by the time you add your fringe and your indirect cost, then that would bring it on up to that amount.
More.
Yeah.
So 133 and 70. That now we're at 200,000, and you're asking for 209 for half of it.
Yeah. Let's see, Jennifer. That's what I called for. Yeah. See.
We included in that request for last year this month the 5% to be 5% above the state scale.
was recommended last year. So we have to include, I think it was 200,000 we received to be above state scale last year. So it's that 200,000 plus the 3,000 per teacher altogether in that one request.
In other words, to continue your 5% above state scale that you paid during 05 and also paid in 06. That to bring that forward, that, in other words, to keep the Sequoia teachers at the same level that they were before the $3,000 raise.
Doug, can you shed any light on this? Madam Chairman, if we could put this one off a little bit while Doug and then try to work this out, I would like the floor, please.
Yeah.
There's some items in here that were dropped out of the budget that I think, we truly need to be looking at keeping. The first one is the Tribal Bridge Program, which they have told us that they're doing it, that they got it late in the year, and it's for the access and bridge money. It's $225,000, and I move that we put it back in the budget.
Have a motion, have a second. Discussion?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
That was not a case of only bridges, it was other projects that's needed.
Yeah, it was
Yes.
Tin horns and access, I think is the way we did it.
Okay.
You're absolutely
Thank you
correct.
for that clarification. Any other discussion? Have a motion, have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Same sign. Gary, you have a comment?
And I have a motion I'd like to be in somewhere.
We already voted.
No, a motion for the.
Okay, all right. What's your motion? I'm sorry.
Thank you. I'd like to propose, and I need Doug's attention, so I need to know where this money will come from. But I think we need to put $250,000, and it's for 2 bathrooms at the Powell grounds, 1,000 square feet each, 4 women's stalls and men's, changing rooms, showers, 2 concession stands, basic ones, and at
Second.
the new cultural grounds,
How
a
much?
combination, $250,000, a combination bathroom and concession stand kind of place at the new cultural ground here, the softball fields. And I think at $40 a square foot, that $250,000 should be clean, because we're not talking the equipment in the kitchens, just the center block buildings.
Now I'm confused.
I am too.
The cultural grounds by the softball field.
Yeah, they're putting in stickball fields and marble fields, and I sometimes play stickball with all those folks, and I know that's gonna be neat, so. And here's my posting note on it,
Okay, Phyllis?
I'm kind of confused too, because I thought that the stickball field was in this budget that has not been approved yet. Is that right? So so I'm confused, I guess. There's a stickball field already in built?
There is a stickball field budget in the proposal. I think 50,000.
Carolyn, Phyllis get her question answered. I recognize you.
Well, I'd like to answer it, because I asked.
Would you like to?
But I asked, and that was, there was no facilities included, that was just the preparation of the field, that cost that money and stuff like the softball and all that, so that's what I added, it would benefit the softball area too. And I understand from the holidays, they did not have adequate facilities either.
No matter.
Well,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Phyllis.
I'm confused because in our report that we got from Doug that says these unexpended balances, is the stickball field not on here, and there was zero monies reported as being spent, and
Yes, there was a 2006 budget for the stickball field of 50,000, none of which was expended, and there's another budget request for 2007 for 50,000. I mean, I don't believe the intention was to convert that into a $100,000 project, I think the intention was to put back in what wasn't spent this year, back into the budget process.
If it's already up and running.
No, I don't believe nothing has been expended on that. They've just requested it be put back into the '07 budget at its original 50,000 amount.
I'm still happy, and this is probably not the place to
It actually is. Continue, please.
say this, but, if we carried this $50,000 for how many years requesting to build a stickball field, and it's not built yet, evidently it's not a priority, and, I kind of have a problem setting money aside for something that we can't get done in, this amount of time, so I don't know whether, I don't know whether I could support adding restrooms and everything else to this stickball field that doesn't exist yet.
Bill John?
I think they had all the resources on the softball field last year.
Jack?
Madam Chair,
And then some.
this is only added on a mod 10 this last year, which would only been a month or two ago.
The Mod 10 budget, for clarification, is a request of the unexpended funds from last year.
It was not.
Doug has
Is that about this?
Doug has this listed on his report as coming in under Mod 10. I assume that means the 2006 budget came in under Mod 10, which was just a month or so ago.
That wasn't the first request for the stickball field, though. That was a carryover request from '05.
You want to continue?
I just have a comment that I know that we can make a $500,000 ball field in 2 months. And so I don't see if it was a priority, I think it could have been done. Todd Enlow's living proof that he could build a softball field in 2 months. That took us 2 years to make.
And Phyllis, if it affects your opinion any, Todd Enlow will be in charge of this.
$50,000 for a pole and a fish. Unless we're buying the fish that Bill Glass made, that's the one that he had at the art show for $5,200. I don't know. I don't think that's a wise appropriation of our money, but that's my opinion.
I think I just come to say what Phyllis was saying. That was my comment. I don't want to be appropriating another $100,000 a year from now that that's not done. But if Todd can start, I feel more comfortable.
Further discussion? We have a motion on the floor, and we have a second. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Is that Shelley? Bill Jones?
Mr. Chairman, the, last year, as you all know, we funded $250,000 to the rural fire station. And, I would propose that we did the same thing this year.
Second.
Madam Chair.
How much?
$250,000.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
last year, we had this money, but it wasn't distributed very well. A lot of districts got a lot of money, and a lot of them didn't get very money. So we need to kind of look at that.
I would add a friendly amendment to that proposal to make it $300,000 and distribute it evenly between all fire stations.
I'll accept.
Second motion.
All fire stations or all rural fire stations? I'll accept.
Hold on, time out. So, I assume that was rural volunteer fire station.
Well, California is a volunteer fire station, and I don't know that they need it. But, it might be.
Can we, I'll accept it as long as that's volunteer fire stations. I understand it's not rural because we've got that fuzziness on what the rural is anymore. But as long as it's volunteer.
Volunteer rule, is that accepted?
Okay.
Just volunteer.
Just volunteer. Volunteer, okay. All right, is everybody clear on that? Yes. Todd and Jackie Bob.
Is the motion 300,000 for all volunteer fire stations in the 14 county areas, or divided by district?
14 county.
14 county areas. All of them, okay, equally. Got it. Volunteer fire stations.
Jackie Bob and Shelley.
Clarification, Madam Chair, when we say volunteer, and with Mr. Baker's comments while ago, the fire department still well. City fire department is volunteer fire department. Well, that just changed in the last year, so we thought it was still volunteer. How many of those do we have in our 14 county areas? I'm not against it, I just want to make sure we understand what we're doing.
Okay, have Chuck and then Joe.
Oh, the last dollars were administered by agencies like Grand Gateway, and they determine the needs of the stations and regions. Now, are we saying that's going to be deleted, and we're just going to send the money directly to the stations? And I have a problem with that, but I just would like to know if that's the route we're going to go.
Yes.
Joe?
The question I have as far as the volunteer part of it is we've got a lot of rural fire stations that the firefighters, you know, they make the fire call, put the fire out or whatever, and they go back to the station, fill the trucks back up. They don't get a dime. Some of the others get $5 or $10 for making the fire run, or whatever. And so my definition of volunteer is those stations that, you know, the firemen don't get nothing either, you know, and that's true volunteer to me. So I don't know if we need to distinguish from that or not. And also those folks, a lot of them are not have been grandfathered into the retirement system like some of the municipal fire departments, like probably Stillwell, California, and some of them. After a certain number of years, they get to retire with a small check of some sort. Yeah. A lot of these other folks, you know, they don't get nothing. They don't get a run. They don't get any money.
And Joe, I understand, and my original motion was to do the rural volunteer fire department. I accepted the amendment for volunteer simply because, one, we raised it up to 300,000. Yes, there's Stillwell, there's Tahlequah, there's Catoosa, there's some city fire departments that are probably volunteer that are going to get this. But it's not going to be that much per fire department. And the little fire department that's got, 10 firemen, when they get a $3,000 check, they're going to be elated. And, but there's no argument that Stillwell and Tahlequah Fire Department serve more Cherokees than any fire department out there. Serve more Cherokees. There's 7,900 Cherokees in Tahlequah. And the numbers are going to be the same as Stillwell. So I accepted it, and I think it's still a good deal.
I just want to remind with Chuck, who's going to disperse this, Bill John? I mean, how is it? Is it going to be a committee?
Under what we've said here, the Cherokee Nation will process one to every rural fire department in the 14 counties, period. So there's no waiting by Grand Gateway, there's no waiting by EEOD, there's no waiting. The smallest rural fire department will get the same as the biggest fire department.
As long as we got that invited, who's going to disperse?
Well, and I know why Councilor Shophouse is asking that. Before that money was appropriated with Grand Gateway, we had no control over that portion of it to a degree. So, Did we take a vote on that?
We have not.
No. Okay, we have a motion and a second. And clarify the motion, Bill.
The motion is that all volunteer fire departments in 14 counties will divide $300,000 equally.
Okay, everybody clear? All those in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign? Okay.
Madam Chairman, individual water and sanitation. We funded at the level of $500,000. I believe we spent every bit of it, and it was left out of this year's budget. This is, it helps folks with rural water meters. It helps people with septic tanks. We've got literally hundreds, if not thousands, that have been living with septic tanks that are no more than 55-gallon drums and rusting out, and it's a really good program in rural Oklahoma, and I move that we approve it.
Second.
Okay, yes.
Madam Chair, I'd highly suggest that we need to coordinate this because there are matching federal dollars to the EPA for best management practices for the Illinois watershed, that we need to help increase the match with those dollars. I believe Clay Pope, through the conservation, Oklahoma Conservation, the executive director, has obtained those monies from the state of Oklahoma. And that could be, this money could be helping and matching that. I think we've already committed some other funds, but that'll hugely help the Illinois watershed and kill our pollution problems in those waters. Match those funds.
I'd accept that as an amendment as part of the narrative.
Thank you.
Okay. You have discussion on this? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign, Buell?
I would like to propose, and I mean, you guys help on this, where to take it down. I'd like to propose $10,000 to be put in a budget for Cherokee Nation Coast Guard to help.
Second.
Second. Have a motion, have a second, discussion. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign? Bill John?
Yes, ma'am. We have a program at the Nation that is probably one of the absolute best programs that we have ever had. It's called the Minor Emergency Housing. We took care of 10 folks this morning, 60-some the week before. It's a program where it's up to $5,000. It's administered at the tribe. They come with these emergency requests, and they've been really effective in stopping with roof leaks, keeping outwards from falling through the floors, handicapped ramps,
Move for the approval.
and it's in the amount of $1,250,000. And I'll second Don's motion.
Okay. All right. Have a discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Yes, Mr. Baker.
Madam Chairman, the cemetery's preservation has been left out of the budget. What's 102, 2017? Just 1 second, please. C. Okay. The proposal is to put it in at $102,000. That would be $6,000 per counselor, including the at-large. It's still for traditional Cherokee cemeteries, 50% or more, but we have heard of a few cemeteries in Ohio and outside the 14 where they bury folks on the trail that these fellows might want to bring to us, and it being the amount of 102, I put that in front of the motion.
What's your amendment, Terry?
That any out-of-state has to be verified by the Trailers Association or something, because otherwise, we're not paying for the council people to go or staff to try to verify these cemeteries. I think it should be some kind of organization that already exists to do that or something. But it needs to have credibility. It can't be just something, we've got too many wannabe groups and they're out just, My grandmother was a Cherokee princess, and I know she was on the Trail of Tears. We can't have those be paid for the cemeteries and stuff, so.
Tom?
The act that created this, you pass the amount for the budget, but it gets approved here at the committee. So, I mean, whoever come up with an idea, let's say someone comes in, there's
Okay, I'll withdraw my amendment.
Thank you.
But
Thank you.
with that thought that we need to have some mechanism.
Yes.
and you can do that through this body. That'd be good for you.
Let's see, I have a motion. Who made the second?
Kara?
Kara.
For
Okay.
102.
For 102,000, cemetery preservation. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carries, and I had David Thornton to recognize.
I would like to run forward the South Salt Creek Park. They have $20,000, $353 covered in the budget. They eliminated $30,000. I'd like to keep that $30,000 in that budget just in case.
Second.
Would be problems.
Have a motion, have a second discussion. Wow.
We just wanted to confirm, is that to keep it at the 06 level for 07? Is that the motion?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Discussion? The South Salt Creek Park,
Yeah.
how much? 30,000.
Keep it at the last 26 budget, $50,352.
Okay. I just wanted to comment, we've been doing the research on the electrical, and it's going to take at least $47,000 to do the electrical work out there. So it's going to take at least $47,000 above they had estimated $30,000 to complete the electrical work to get it on site.
What is needed? Well, they put 20,000.
It's going to take $47,000 just to get the electrical there. Which is going to take above what you got in. Is there anything else that money's going toward other than the electrical? Not this. He's put 30 more. It's just a right amount.
Yes, sir.
It takes you up to 50.
Second.
Except.
Yes, sir.
Up to 50? Okay, other discussion?
50 more, 50 additional.
Up to 50, or additional?
150.
47 is what they quoted.
Additional 50, okay.
Additional 50 other than the 20 that's budgeted right now, correct?
Additional 50 for 150.
Okay, taking it up to
So that's
70.
it, so total.
There's 20,000 budgeted in this year's budget. You want to raise it 50,000, correct?
Which is an increase of 30.
Keep it for both. Like 06.
I thought they
Additional 50, right?
This minute, yeah.
That would leave electric.
I can clarify. The current year budget right now is 50. They've submitted a budget for next year of 20. It's going to take 47 to do the electrical work. Do you want to take it up to 50, or do you want to take it up to 70?
7. One additional.
An additional?
Okay.
My mind's clear, and I'm okay with
I think the clarification is to keep it at 50,000 as the 06 level.
Keep it at 06 level for 07
And then,
50,000.
and then in the budget,
352, yeah, that's the motion. And then that's why I'm going back 50.
okay, so that's a total of 100,000, okay. So 100,000 increase, I mean, total. Is that right? Okay. I thought we were talking about the 20. All right, it's a total of 100,000.
It's a total of 100.
You better stop.
Okay.
Might want to add a marina there.
Who made the second on that? Harris.
I don't accept 100 grand, but I'll accept 70 total, because I think that covers
Plus
the
20.
electric, some additional work out there that needs to
I
be
need
done.
another second. Oh, I got one, Don seconded.
Okay. Am I okay on this?
What is it?
I think so.
Madam Chair?
It's 100,000.
What I understand.
He said keep it at 06 level, so, and Jackie Bob made the amendment to increase the 50, so to 100,000, so we're voting on the 100,000. Okay.
Total of 70.
100.
The 2007 budget.
Okay, let's go at this again.
Yes,
Kept the 06 budget,
that's 50,000.
50.
Yeah,
added 50,000 for the electric,
okay. So,
100,000.
yeah.
Kelly, say something.
Okay, yeah.
Can I make a suggestion since Todd is here?
All right.
Can we ask him how much we think it'll take to do the project?
Well, he said around
And then we'll,
47,000 on
then we
electric.
take that number less what's in the budget and we're good.
As long as you don't build a softball field over there.
Yeah. We don't want that $500 million project, Bill.
In all honesty, I believe that the $70,000 would cover the electrical plus the additional maintenance.
I'm not just looking at the electrical.
Right, I'm saying that the electrical and then the other grounds maintenance and the other things that we need to do to the buildings.
I'm looking for something.
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for employment.
So you want to, basically you want to operate as a park, like a normal recreational park?
In case we do have someone hired.
Because right now we don't have, and just so everybody, there is nobody that runs down there and staffs that. We just go down there and treat symptoms at the park now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm comfortable as the second if it stays at 70,000 total for the 2007 budget. Since, and I remember conversations earlier where Councilor Thornton did want this to be maintained as a park. But right now, I don't think that the administration is prepared with the actuals for a budget on that. So I'm okay with the 70,000 total for right now, and maybe it be brought back with better planning on numbers, so they can go ahead and proceed with the electrical and those things.
I've got a different setting.
You can't pick and choose. I appreciate that, but what I would do is I will withdraw my second, but you won't get my vote if it's $100,000.
So you withdraw your second, do we have another second? Don second, okay.
I better second once.
All right. We'll accept that. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign?
Aye.
Could you get the, okay. Motion carries, moving along to, yes, Taylor?
Yes, Madam Chair. I'd like to make a motion to empower our Executive Director of Financial Oversight to bring forth comprehensive cost estimates at the next Executive Finance meeting to the chairs for the following positions for the Tribal Council. The first would be Secondary Counsel, Legal Counsel. Second would be Legislative Policy Analyst. The third would be a Public Relations position. And the fourth would be a financial analyst within the group of financial oversight.
Second.
Okay, have a motion, have a second, discussion?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Clarification. So we're not approving, this is just to bring forward at next ENF numbers, but we're not approving any budgetary authorization for these positions at this time. Just bringing forward the analysis. Okay.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign? Okay.
Thank you.
Don? Oh, I'm sorry, let me back up. Jack, I'm sorry, I have been not here.
That's quite all right.
Okay.
The Principal Chief has a request of $12,500 from Chief Michelle Hicks from the Eastern Band to join with them in a project in Washington, D.C. And if I may, I'll read a couple of paragraphs from this letter. It says, we have an opportunity to promote the interests of both the Cherokee Nation and the Eastern Band by sponsoring an event in Washington, D.C. in April 2007 when the traveling exhibit Emissaries of Peace, the 1762 Cherokee and British delegations were opened
at the Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History. And I might add, by the way, that I have seen this exhibit, and if anyone's been to Cherokee in the last week, it's an excellent exhibit. But it will be at the Smithsonian only next year. But they're requesting, Eastern Band will fund $12,500, or half the cost of an opening reception. If the Cherokee Nation will fund $12,500, we can host a successful event. It's an opportunity to invite legislators, lobbyists, representatives of funding agencies, and other guests to see the exhibit. This is showcasing the Cherokee.
Okay.
So I make that in form of a motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Kara, second. All right. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Bill John.
Yes. When we were going through the reports. Oh, okay. Okay. The clothing for kids, which was brought forward by Audra last year, was left out of the budget for $100,000. I think they did well. I think they got it out. I think it's a good program, and I move for approval.
Okay. What was it?
Kids, clothing for kids, $100,000.
All right. Yes, Audra.
Can I ask for a friendly amendment? Perhaps 200,000.
I would accept.
Can I make that? I think I talked to Audra about this, you know, I post sometimes school supplies.
I wouldn't mind a slash.
Yeah. Clothing / school supplies. Is that okay?
I would accept.
Okay. That's accepted. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Don?
I think maybe David's got most of the money already in Square County, but maybe I can get a few crumbs over my way. I propose that $30,000 for the Discovery Awareness Diabetes Program for those kids living inside I-20, inside Cherokee Nation. This is inside the boundaries.
Have a motion, have a second. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Bill John.
Madam Chairman, we had some folks come before us this morning with the Cherokee Adult Choir. I'm going to make a motion that we fund that group, knowing that they will accept all Cherokees, no matter what religion, where they're from, and hopefully can bring the other group into their fold. And I'm gonna start them out this year at $25,000.
Have a motion, have a second. Yes, discussion.
Madam Chair, I would really like to see us not get involved in this dispute. And I would like, although I do support both activities, I just think that it's not wise for us to get involved in showing funding for one group over another. And I'd like to see them sort of work out the differences and then come back and have some kind of agreement that either one group or the other would come and ask for the funding.
Thank you, Don.
Madam Chair, I agree with Councilman Yargy. I think there ought to be some way that they can work together. Supposedly they're all church members and they should be able to work this out among themselves.
Kara?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not comfortable expending any additional money until we've had an audit, which I wasn't for sure if that was there was buy-in this morning on that. So this money needs to be accounted for that's already been expended for the adult choir before we move forward. And I think Councilwoman Yarkey is right on the situation in that they need to pull together and come back to us as a group and work out a compromise. That'll be in the best interest of the tribe and the people. Thank you.
Yes, John.
I agree with everything that's being said now. Undoubtedly, these two are split. one of them said you want that name to be changed from Cherokee Adult Singers to Cherokee Baptist Singers. And I think we have appropriated to Cherokee Adult Singers. Now, when they split, they organized the Baptist side. They had there on that Cherokee Baptist, you know, which immediately right then I thought to myself, hey, you're going to get some help in my church over there, because it's Cherokee Baptist, you know. Well, anyway, that wouldn't so I could see that. I mean, I ain't using that. And so, but anyway, I believe that the people, and there's a Cherokee Baptist got the money. And it's actually, I think it's the money appropriated to Cherokee Adult. Okay, now, what I think what needs to be done is to bring this Cherokee Baptist and let them give an account of what it is. Then if there's something odd, then they can tell us about the split. Then now, if there's difficulty, God's people, they'll come in and reconcile back together. It's up to them, not us. I mean, you know, we don't make those decisions as Christians without believing. And I think that would be the right way for them to resolve that case themselves for biblically, that's what it says. So that is what God says.
Yes.
Madam Chairman, at this time, I would like to withdraw the request for the Cherokee Adult Choir, knowing full well that I'll be visiting and trying to work out something, but I sure don't want to leave the group that's been shunned out in the dark. And but give them an opportunity to try to settle the differences.
Okay.
But I would withdraw.
Okay. Yes.
Madam Chairman, in our budget hearings, we heard about the voc ed scholarships that they had reduced from $225,000 down to $25,000. I'd like to add that $200,000 in so that we don't let that fall through the cracks.
Yes.
I also visited with Dr. Morton regarding moving it from the higher education into vocational education. And he said he had no problem with that, and he felt like that would be a cleaner way to do it, so would you accept that for him?
Yes, please.
Okay, so it's 200,000. Everyone clear on the motion in a second? Further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Same sign, motion carries. Yes, Audrey.
I had some information handed out a few days ago to the committee on the Zoe Institute. And I was looking at the chief's budget on charitable contributions, and he had $397,000, I think is what he's asking for this year. And they still had $137,000 left from last year's budget. So this is a group here in Tahlequah that provides services to single parents, single moms, and they provided some information. We have helped them before, and they have provided some documentation on how many Cherokee families have been served and that. So with that, they would like to get about $38,000. I think we helped them last year with 25.
You said
25,000, yeah. I'm just going to go ahead and put it forth in the form of a motion to help them with that $38,000.
Thank you for your second. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, committee.
Thank you.
That was how much?
38,000.
Okay, Madam Chairman.
Yes, sir.
There's a line in the chief's budget that asks for $139,340. He's really only asking for $33,285, and then asked that $106,055 be left in that account for contributions under $5,000. I do not think that is constitutionally legal, to have the chief making contributions when the Constitution is pretty clear that all contributions will be made by the council, or approved by the Council of the Cherokee Nation. So at this time, I would ask that we, out of budget number 1010042, we take the 106055 out of that line and leave the one that he has identified, and of course he can come anytime for contributions, but that just doesn't need to be there, and that's the only motion.
Okay. We have a motion to have a second. Discussion. Kara? And then Donna.
Melanie, could you clarify, is there a list, because I don't remember this from last year, whenever the way it was approved last year,
The amounts that were designated at budget hearing, and then there was an undesignated amount, and anything below 5,000 didn't come back for further approval. It was done that way that last year, not to say it wasn't discussed particularly.
But it's unconstitutional. Yeah.
That's an opinion.
Question?
Yes.
How does this program work? Because I wasn't aware of it. It's $106,000, and the way the budget authority was that if it's below $5,000, the chief could just give an organization.
That's what the narrative said this time.
Okay.
And that ain't gonna be.
I think you would have to look very closely at that to see if it was.
Well, we'll just pull it out, and then if he needs things, he can come to us in budget month. We do one every month. That is a motion to pull the 106,055 out.
And that leaves
The 33,285 that he's using. I mean, he's got identified.
discussion. Don?
This is on something else.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Same sign. Motion carries to withdraw. Don?
Last year, we put in 5,000 for the rural Indian orphans home, and I think it's in the big book. Does that mean it's in this budget? If it's in the big book?
I believe it is. Doug?
It's in there, I'm sorry.
We put in the Moreau Indian Children's Home, right? The 5,000?
The council? Yes.
It's last year in the big book.
Okay. For this year? Okay.
If it's not, I'd like to.
He's looking. Okay. We'll know in just a second.
If it's not in there, I'd make a motion that we put it in there.
Well, I've got Doug doing too many things at one time.
It's listed in Part 2, does that mean it's there?
Yeah, it's listed there, I think it's in
Okay. Page 21 in the big book.
21 in the big book.
Cody Merle, Indian Children's Home?
there.
Moreau? It's in here, it's in the budget for 5,000.
Okay, it's already in there? Okay. So, scratch that out. Okay. Phyllis?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to fund the jail and special projects at the 622,000.
How much?
It's on this.
How much is it?
It's 622,000.
Second motion.
Okay, I have a motion, I have a second. Okay, discussion.
It's not that I'm unsupportive of this, I just need a clarification. Do we know how much money we've got left and we continue to do this?
That's right.
I just want to check right here.
But we got a printer going in the back.
I believe there's 622,000 in the current budget request for jail and special projects.
Do one
That's
now,
on
Callie,
top of
say it
their
again.
DOI amount, or is that?
No, that's a request for supplemental funding.
Yes, it's on top of their DOI.
It's on top of their DOI.
Yes.
So it's already in
We have
there.
to approve it this way.
No, it's already in the
It's
request.
already in there? Bill John?
Has that question's been brought up about how we might be funding some of these requests that we're talking about? And more specifically, the cancer and diabetes treatment. Can you speak to that, please?
That is a $1.5 million budget that's going in Mod 12 Monday night that's utilizing tobacco surtax from the tag office. And obviously they're only going to have 2.5 weeks to obligate it, so I would recommend while we're doing this to go ahead and include the carryover of that budget into the next fiscal year.
I'd move to do that.
Second.
Have a motion, have a second, thank you. Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. It's still on.
Doug, the
Cancer.
Lady Star system,
Yes.
we have gotten,
We have acquired the software.
okay,
We have it initial setup completed and training on the staff. We've got invoices that are trickling in now, and there's going to be more invoices coming in later.
so we need to put $130,000 over into the budget for the balance.
For the
of that.
carryover into 07.
I move that we move the $130,000 carryover into next year's budget to pay for these invoices.
Have a motion, have a second, thank you. Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Phyllis?
Madam Chair, I just need some clarification on how we acted on some of these. Under the new initiatives that were presented the other day, are those all included in the budget? And if we don't include those, do we need
Correct.
to act on those? So this, the one that I just addressed with the JOM, then if we don't move to take it out, then it'll be approved. So if there are any on here that we don't approve of, we need to act on them, not to approve.
Yes,
So
these
they don't
are
all-
already included in there. So if there's anything in here that for some reason you decided you did not want to fund, then you have to act to remove them.
Okay,
They're already in it.
why did we act differently on this?
That here, if I may,
Okay.
it's a little confusing this year because I presented the new initiatives, and then right after that, I had a list of 5 proposed amendments to the chief's budget.
Okay.
And the directed studies was one of those.
Okay.
Those were the 5 that we needed separate action on.
Well, I apologize because I did miss your presentation. Had I been here, I would have made them. And I apologize.
You did it? What was that? I did. I didn't know that. I didn't.
Bill John?
Yes. Doug, we were talking about how we're going to pay for this, and Gen Fund Ops 0506 unappropriated surplus.
It's 12.1 million. It's in Mod 12. It's unobligated in Mod 12. Okay, it's the balance right now of this current fiscal year that has not been appropriated. I think it's very appropriate to include it in 07 because the vast majority of that came out of 05 audit.
So can I
Money.
assume that you've added all this up and spent $12 million yet?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. So the money's there. Okay. I don't know if anybody's noticed that we're a little cramped in the present offices that we're in. We have been approached by the owners of what was the Oak Hill Restaurant. It's 6,000 square feet. It's really a nice location, big parking lot. Doug, can you refresh my memory on the numbers exactly.
The numbers that the owner and
Yeah.
they wanted financing
Yeah, they wanted 150 down and 100,000 a year for
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah. 150 down, 5 years, 100,000 a year.
And for 300 or so, it could be completely remodeled and turned into a premier legislative branch. And we just happen to have $1 million left over in our 03 CapEx bond money. And I'd move that we proceed to purchase that building and turn it into our legislative branch offices and use the $1 million balance of the CapEx bond money.
Have a motion, have a second. Have a second?
Second for discussion.
Okay. Discussion? Audrey?
So if the numbers are right, we're saying 150,000 down, 100,000 for the next 5 years, and possibly another 350,000 in renovation.
I would say that'd be a true statement, yes, ma'am.
So we've got a, okay, thank you.
And we pay more rent than
Doug, can you present the numbers? We pay more here than that in the long run cost, right?
Well,
Park Hill, explain.
We have approximately $1 million left in the bond issuance from the capital expansions with the financial resource building and several of the improvement projects from 2003. I believe it was 10 years, 50,000, not 5 years, 100.
That's right.
It was 10 years, 50,000.
You're right.
Plus prime. We pay, I believe, approximately 35,000 right now in space costs.
How much?
35. Mm-hmm.
Don?
I just wanted to inquire, is this property been appraised and if so, for how much? No one knows?
Callie, have you looked at this building? I believe you have, haven't you?
I'm sorry.
The Oak Hill property?
No, I have not looked at it.
Okay. Who would be looking at it?
Well, I'm voting, I don't know what the prices.
I mean, normally, Angie Drews or Linda Donaldson's group look at any acquisitions that we do in the building.
Let me see. I believe they've got it right.
Karen, and then Jackie Ball.
Yeah, I can't support this at this time. We have no analysis, there's no competition. I don't know that we've looked at any other facilities. I don't know if there's a real assessment for what our actual need is on space, parking, and those other things. That would warrant $1 million expenditure. And I just, if any kind of relationship would need to be disclosed. I mean, obviously, this is almost like a sole source contract in a way that, you know, individual issues are arbitrarily gone out, pick the property that's available, and it puts us way away from the employees, the staff, the people that are our resources a lot of times. So I think we should support this at time. And I think we have the space here we can utilize rather than do that. Thank you.
Jackie Ball.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not totally against buying real property, but I can't support this right now. And the reason would be that realty department is the group that actually looked at property and the questions been asked. We have
I don't know, the appraisal on the property, how many acres is involved in this type of thing, before I would, of course, I'd like to have that type of information.
Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also agree that we need to think about some more planning with this. What I'd like to do is make it an amendment that we set aside $100,000 that would look at a feasibility for the needs of the council house, including parking, space utilization, and that we look at the expansion of this facility here, look at all other potential sites that are out there, engage real estate to help us fully flesh out the feasibility of expanding this facility or a larger one.
Yes, that would be a friendly amendment to this motion.
But I would withdraw it and accept that one.
The full motion, this second is done, we're on there. Thank you, Madam Chair. If this is gonna cost $100,000, I need to quit and go into that business, I think. Maybe it does cost that, but I was hoping Connie Rose Group could just do that for, at the cost of existing staff and time and employees, maybe. Rather than giving the $10,000 additional money. Because that's a tenth of the overall property that's on the table, that seems expensive. Can Todd address that, if he's able to do that?
You want to respond?
Yes, I would like to respond to that. And the reason why I picked that figure is that's the standard amount that we used at C&E for feasibilities on projects.
And those kind of things?
In any kind of facilities. And it was just up to. And hopefully we won't spend that amount.
It's an up to figure.
Yeah. Because you never know what you're going to come across with water.
Sure.
I just wanted to add to that. That was one of the things that we have been looking at is not only other properties around the facility, but also properties that we have that existing structures don't stand on. And just to share with you, the Supreme Court hit me up about a little over a month ago and said, we feel cramped in our space. We don't want to destroy a historic building. It is not meeting our needs. And they are looking at actually, their desire is to actually move closer to the main complex. And so we've given them some options to take a look at as far as locations and doing feasibility studies.
The same type of thing here.
Exactly.
And when Donaldson has visited the site, they will submit an appraisal, and she and Andy Drewes are discussing it now.
So we have this for discussion. We have a motion, and we have a second. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
while Todd is here, I do have one additional request I would like you to consider in the 07 budget, and that is to set aside approximately $120,000 out of the 2003 bond proceeds that's remaining, and that will be to purchase a backup generator for the main complex. Todd can give you some more specifics on that.
Thank you.
Currently, we have a generator that is located on the Financial Resources Building, which is where most of our servers reside. That's email, files, RPMS servers, imaging servers, tag office, and it stays up just fine. The problem with that theory is that all of our fiber optic cabling and our main core switches reside in the main complex. And so when we did the sewing factory, the original intent was to place a generator on the main complex itself, and that never occurred. The switch box is there. We just need to physically place the generator on there, because every time we lose power, we lose every clinic, we lose every operation.
Okay. I have any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Bill John?
Yes. There's a dividend increase of $2 million that would bring the dividend estimate closer to the 06 actual level, to be recognized in Mod 12, that we need to also bring forward as funding for some of this stuff.
2 million was the number figure. Okay. Do I have a second? Do I have a motion on that?
Yeah, motion to bring it forward.
Yes. And do I have a second? Second. Discussion, Callie?
Yes, I would, since we do have quite a bit of money on the table, that number for the '07 budget I took from C&E's projections for 2007. I just think it's a bit hasty to increase that projection right now. Normally, as we proceed during the year, we will increase it as we see how C&E is doing. And at the 23 million, we're going to be right about the '06 level.
Karen?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't remember if I heard this or I read it, but was there an audit recommendation to increase month?
Not necessarily an audit recommendation, but we do adjust our budget about halfway through the year, and that's after our audited financial statements come out. It's not a huge problem, but I guess I'm just more conservative than some people, but we can increase it as we see how C&E does.
Doug?
I just have a question, Kelly. That's at 30%, right?
It should be. Yep.
Okay, that would mean that C&E
About
is
80.
budgeting a decrease in net income.
I'll have to go back and look, but I think it's around 80 million. I took it off of our spreadsheet.
Okay. I believe they're on track this year, almost at the end of the year, to hit 86 million. So if they just hold flat with this year, 30% would be almost 26 million. Almost 3 million more than what's in the budget. That's why I brought that point of interest out in the first slide. Was that I wasn't understanding why we would budget a dividend that is actually based on a lower net income next year for seeing what they're getting ready to finish their year this month at that level.
I did this projection back in April, May timeframe, so it's possible things have changed. I just wanted to make that point that we are currently what we have in the '07 budget is probably where we'll end up for so I don't have a huge problem with increasing it, but I do like being a little more conservative on our revenue projections.
It's to recognize the additional $2 million to bring it up closer to '06 actuals on the proposed or the expected dividend to come into to the nation from C&E. They just opened another nice big casino up the hill. They just opened one.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Madam Chair, if I could just make one more comment. I believe it's my responsibility as the treasurer to certify the revenue estimates, and I just would like to go on record that until I could go back and do more analysis, I don't agree with increasing it at this point in time.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, for the
Yes.
record, I'd like to vote no on that also.
Okay.
Yes. In the budget,
On page 133, there's $82,000 that's been added to Cherokee Nation communities at large. And the purpose of this is primarily...
Black Book?
Yes, Black Book, page 133, at the bottom, almost the bottom of the page.
What page?
133. Cherokee Nation communities at large. This was put in primarily for the group that's been organized within the nation to so-called fight the wannabe problem that we have and make local governments aware where some of these people are taking funding sources. And I moved to increase it to $150,000 and include a part-time person if necessary, but also for that to help organize legitimate Cherokee organizations outside the 14-county area.
Okay.
So your motion is?
To increase the 18,527 to 150,000, and when it's necessary to include a part-time person, be paid out of that 150.
To authorize a half contribution.
But it's also to help organize Cherokee groups outside the 14-county area.
Legitimate citizens.
Legitimate citizens, locate them, work with their organizations.
Is this just a question? It's not, I'm just wondering, is that additional $60,000, is it best added to this just because it's called Cherokee Nation Communities at Large under Community Development, or would it better be served by the two counselors at large? I can see where you would need money to organize the folks in California and Texas and different places. I just don't know that the community development is going to range outside the 14 counties much. It's just a question. It's not an indictment.
Yes, Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Councilor, I think this would serve a dual purpose. Councilman Baker and I are going to be going out there as well. Part of this discussion was to encourage the group within the executive branch to do the same. So, we've had discussions with these groups that the interest is mutual. They've always felt that they were never allowed to go outside of those 14 counties. And it was, again,
Did anybody second you?
I did.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is more than just a position, and it is, the primary focus is to deal with the economic crisis that's going on throughout even the world at this point. It's insane. There's over 120 identified, think they're Cherokee tribes that we've identified so far. It affects us, the UKB, the Cherokee Indians, it affects all the rest of the country. And unfortunately, it is seems easy for folks to say that they're Cherokee citizens and things like that. So it also not only pays for a staff person, but we need money to put together formal, nice packets, which will cost $1 million for government officials that educate them on the proper Department of Interior recognition process and to avoid additional state recognition, which is costing us money in HUD dollars, Department of Education dollars, there's litigation and stuff. If there were to be a change, the only place I could see that would properly fit would be the legal department under Diane and the Attorney General's office, because there might be prosecutions out of this. It affects the Indian Arts and Crafts Act, it affects identity theft, mail fraud, there's nonprofit organizations claiming to be Indian that are taking millions of dollars, not just from tribes and individual Indian people, but the other nonprofits in Indian country that are proper and trying to function. They're somehow, they're better at clips and feathers, I guess, than we are, so they go out and take all this money. So, in other words, it's not just a position, because that 60,000 may be excessive for a half-time or part-time position, but it is more than that. It's the printing that they'll need and all the other stuff, so, and a website.
No, Ryan.
Thank you.
Since I'm the only Indian princess. I agree. I mean, we do need, I get calls all the time from people like Tennessee or somewhere wanting somebody from the tribe to come out there because they said we're the Cherokees. And like I said, even in Seneca, Missouri, there's an office there that says Northwest Cherokee Tribal Administration Office there in Seneca. You see that. And so they're all over, and that did work before, just like what happened at the boat that came up the river, and so I think it is a good idea to have that.
Okay. I have any other discussion? I have a motion. I have a second. I lost it again, am I right? Okay. And all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. Yes.
I hate to keep harping and doing, but this needs to be discussed. The last 3 years, we have given nuts to the employees for Christmas. We have given little $8 blankets. We have, at Christmas time, have come up and we've always paid half of it out of the council budget and half of it out of the chief's budget. I'm just thinking that we really ought to do something more for the employees. And I don't care, it's a $50 Walmart card or a $50 voucher at our gas station or buy Cherokee Nation watches or what. But I really think we need to look at we've got 2,100 employees. At 50 apiece would be $105,000, and I'm going to make that as a motion and be glad to talk.
Second, with an amendment to the $50 gas card at our stations.
But I think everyone would accept that, and I would accept the amendment.
Well, I got one problem with this. Somebody live at Bonita, and it's going to cost them $50 to come
Okay.
Free the gas
That
can.
should not be.
Otter.
Just to add to that,
Sorry. I forget where I'm sitting sometimes.
just to add to that, I know I came to the employee Christmas program last year, and all the employees had to actually sign in and before they, on this list, before they, and go to the program before they could get their, I think it was a $10 gift card last year from Walmart. So, yeah, you gotta spend $50 to get here and get your $50.
Well, and if we left it up to administration to have a committee decide if that would be fine, or everybody can use $50 Walmart cards. And instead of buying gas, they can buy gas and use their card at Walmart instead. So, all right. Todd.
Yes.
Yeah, the motion should be a value of $50 to be determined by the administration as to how the gift.
And I have no problem with that.
Just a $50 value card, however it is, because I don't know, or outposts even have it.
And if they're really smart, they can find maybe $100 item for $50.
Like a turkey for dinner.
Yeah.
Have a call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chuck?
Yes, Madam Chair, getting to health, or back to health, or whatever, we all know the need for needing contract health. We addressed that need to a certain extent, the health committee this year, and setting aside dollars for back to work programs, which I think is an outstanding.
One of the best.
And I know that we have a reduction going into this year of 300,000. We had 1.3 million last year. We have 1 million this year. And I'd like to make a motion to restore the 1.3.
Second.
Okay. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
300,000.
1.3 total.
The back and work.
Back to work.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
And this may be premature, I go for it. I'd like to approve the 2006, 2007 budget as amended.
Second.
Yes.
Doug? All right. With all your little notes,
I can't read half of it.
the budget has been moved for approval. Is there anything else that,
Can I go through this list to make sure that I've got everything?
okay? Oh. You say okay.
I have used her handwriting better than mine.
Ask the question, that's good.
Yeah, which, yeah, I'm gonna recommend, I'm gonna make that recommendation. That came from Diane. Yeah, they did that. Diane provided that. They didn't, okay, can I make a recommendation? Yeah, well, they just asked me what did we forget. The Ross grant was inadvertently left out. Could I suggest that you consider amending also for the Ross grant $360,000 budget estimate for 07? Diane Kelly got us her estimate just a moment ago. Because it's not in the budget right now for 07 Ross. And it carryover back.
Ask her if you accept that.
Will you accept it, Karen?
What's the?
A Ross grant carryover budget that was inadvertently left out.
Yeah, you'll accept the second too.
I forgot.
There's just a little bit of housekeeping that it won't take long, I don't think.
We'll accept.
Okay. Here's all the adjustments the way that I think I've got them all
I have to have
collected.
you to accept. I'm not gonna operate that way.
Can we get all three amendments out first and then just, vote to accept them and then vote on the motion?
How do you want to do this? The Ross thing, you want to go item by item?
You've already voted item by item.
Yes, we have.
And you can add the Ross as an amendment to the motion, or you can do it separately.
Todd?
You've taken each vote as you've gone along. There are survey votes you need to pass the budget. There's one, I understand, one amendment that was as to the Ross grant to be included, so therefore, and that's been accepted as a friendly amendment. Motion on the floor needs to vote the budget up or down.
Okay. Madam Chair, point of order. Kara could withdraw her motion to approve until we get through this housekeeping.
Yes. Would you do that?
I'm okay. I mean, I think there's just one housekeeping item, so I don't know why I need to withdraw my motion.
Well, I think there's more, but
What was that or vote down the motion?
My motion said it was as amended, so.
And all I wanted to do was itemize the amendment to make sure that everyone understood.
Anything different.
I'm not changing the, I'm just going down the list of what you guys voted on to make sure that I didn't miss any of this when we start trying to go from X amount of dollars to a new X amount of dollars. I don't want to miss any of these amendments. I just want to make sure.
Phyllis and Jackie Bob?
Madam Chair, I know for sure that we've moved to add certain things, and I feel like we should have the opportunity to move, to take certain things out, should there be something in there we still have questions about.
Yeah,
So
that's
this
true.
motion approves the budget
Entire budget.
in its entirety, except, and really the only thing that we've discussed are the things that we've added into. So I feel like it's inappropriate right at this time, but I'm not going to make those motions.
Jack Bob, then Chuck. And Bill
Madam
Johnson.
Chair, I may have been out, but what did we do with, before I left, the certified personnel? We deal with that?
Yes. That part-time position that increased to 150,000, is that what it's talking about?
No, the person's salary.
Oh, the
$209,000.
Okay. All right, just a minute here. I had Phyllis, and I had Jackie Baum, and you want a question answered?
No.
Okay. And then I had Chuck, and then Bill John, and Taylor.
Okay. The motion on the floor to pass this budget, and we have a second, but I hear a lot of people wanting to continue discussion on the budget, so the correct and proper thing to do would be to vote on the motion, and if you want to continue discussion, simply vote no at this time. Doesn't mean you're totally against the budget, it just means you want to continue discussion of the budget.
All right. We have, call for the question. A yes is to pass this budget now, and a no is to continue discussion, right? Everybody clear? All those in favor?
Yes.
All those opposed?
No.
Okay.
Linda O'Leary,
No.
Bill John Baker, Bill Angler,
Yes.
Jack Baker,
Yes.
Audrey Connor, Joe Crittenden,
No.
Meredith Brady, Don Garvin, Chuck Hoskins,
No.
Bill Johnson, Taylor King,
No.
John Keener, Jack Von Martin,
No.
Nirvana Shophouse, David Gordon,
No.
Kirk Allen Wallace,
Yes.
Louis Starkey,
No.
Bill England,
Yes.
Jack Baker.
Everybody voted, I voted.
Madam Chairman, at this time,
Bill Johnson,
I want to know first, for a second.
Buell.
Don Garvin.
Doug is feverishly trying to put together the things that we've already voted on and get them in order. We've been sitting here since early, 1 o'clock, 1:30. I'm going to move that we take a 15-minute recess and right, walk around a little bit, give Doug time to get his mind in order, and then we can.
We'll take a 15-minute recess. I think everybody's in favor, don't you?